Let's see how this man made money. He got two gorgeous females drunk and took them to the hotel. When the gorgeous females were about to enter the room, the man handed them money and said good night. Then he could start earning money. He fell asleep on the bed. Well, he earned money by sleeping, because he had the ability to bring things from his dreams into the actual world. In his dream, he visited a museum filled with priceless items. These goods were his to take for as long as he wanted. In his dreams, though, there was always someone following him. He needed to get what he desired before he was slain. And then he repeated the phrase, I am dreaming, I'm dreaming. So, based on his dream, he attained financial independence. The only reason he possessed this ability was because of a weird elderly man. Sang-yu was still a screenwriter a few days ago, so impoverished that he couldn't even afford to eat a scone with added eggs. He was mentally disturbed since he had frequent nightmares. The script was unable to be written, and the rent was unable to be paid. Finally, the landlord threw him out into the street. He had nowhere else to go, so he came to the rooftop to end it all. Just as he was about to jump down. Hey, would you want to try a piece of scone? It was really enticing. Even when he was dead, he couldn't be a ghost hungry. Sang-yu told the old man about his life while eating the scone. When the old man heard it, he recognized the issue and taught him a trick. The next time you have a nightmare, scream I'm dreaming. That night, Sang-yu dreamt that he was being hunted again. He had a flashback to the elderly man's words. So he shouted aloud, I'm dreaming. He awoke quickly, and the weapon he was holding in his hand while dreaming was likewise brought into the actual world. Sang-yu recognized the commercial opportunity right away. This sword was instantly recognized as a valuable treasure. He went for a stroll down the antique street. He got it exactly correct. Every single person in this room was fighting to buy his sword. He finally went to the pawn store. He began to alter his life after selling the sword for more than $3,000. This time, this man was having a good dream. He was visiting a bank vault. He crazily put money in his bag. That was a really joyful feeling. At this time, a dream ghost appeared behind him. Sang-yu was unconcerned about the cut on his face, and immediately stood up to resume putting money in his bag. It didn't take long for 2 full bags to be filled. He swatted the dream ghost away. 2 bags of money flitted into his hands. In his dream, he could do everything he wanted. However, you will most likely roll your eyes in the following few seconds. Because he was capable of carrying money from the dream to the actual world. Only his close buddy, Sang-gu, was aware of this secret. He was in charge of the dream, while Sang-gu was in charge of exchanging the money. Each gold chain strand was brought into the real world. That was really refreshing. Because there were so many treasures and antiques, he was unable to obtain them all. Indeed, he relied on dreams to achieve his goal of being a wealthy billionaire. When Sang-yu became wealthy, he didn't forget the benefactor who saved his life, a strange old man selling scones. He secretly placed a bag of cash inside the elderly man's scones cart in exchange for repaying. He was even cooler when it came to chasing after girls. He carried a suitcase full of cash to buy her store. He wanted to give his girlfriend a racing car. The car drove from his dream to where he was, even though it didn't know which floor he was on. How could he drive this car and get out? When he didn't have money, he couldn't sleep at night. He was gradually exhausted. After he obtained the money, he had plenty of time, and could do everything well. A script he created at random might fetch more than $3,000 in sales. Sang-gu had created the image of a very talented new screenwriter to help him achieve his goal. Directly launching 20 categories. Creating his own scripts and turning them into films. Having just invested, he would receive hundreds of millions of dollars in return. It is worthwhile to spend so little money. Sang-gu intended to assist him with a large project that used Sang-yu's name to construct the Sang-yu Tower. To put all of the refugees inside the tower. They would be totally free to eat, drink, and play. They would have access to jobs and education. If this place existed in real life, I would be there as well. However, bringing objects from a dream into the real world also had consequences. That day, he felt uneasy in his body. He stepped over to the mirror and looked at it. On his body, 2 large scars appeared. He didn't know what had happened to him. He didn't want to tell his girlfriend, so he snuck out. As a result, he was kidnapped on the 2nd day. 100,000, 100 million, you already have 300 million in your bank account. What is your job? Sang-yu was kidnapped by Chang-gu. Sang-gu brought $10 million to redeem him. But Chang-ji's attitude shifted slightly after seeing the balance in Sang-yu's bank account. Chang-gu followed Sang-yu and Sang-gu to their secret location. As soon as Chang-gu entered the house, he was taken aback by the sight in front of him. The entire floor was filled with priceless treasures. Bringing anything out could shock the entire world. Chang-gu intended to murder them. To appropriate all of this. At this time, Sang-Yu's girlfriend came to find him, and was apprehended by Chong-ji's subordinates. Just in time to annihilate the entire weed, Chong-gu demanded that they all be murdered. They all put their lives on the line to fight back. Sang-Yu was stabbed with a knife. Sang-gu held on to 2 opponents while fleeing. Finally, he sacrificed himself. But they didn't run far before being apprehended. His girlfriend was also knocked unconscious. Sang-Yu was like a thrown-out chick who wasn't sure if she was living or dead. All of the pictures from his dream were gradually emerging in his mind. Finally, he approached his girlfriend. A wall of ice stood between them. He was unable to touch his girlfriend. At this time, Sang-Yu, who had fallen into despair, had been entirely wicked. He turned into a monster that continued slamming into the ice wall. Surprisingly, the wall in the actual world was destroyed in the same way. The monster appeared in the actual world at the time the wall was breached. He killed everyone. Finally, he also took Sang-Yu's life. At the same time, all of Sang-Yu's treasures from the dream vanished. Is this all coming to an end? Sang-Yu awoke suddenly on the side of the road. He reverted to the sloppy clothing style of a poor scriptwriter. All of this turned out to be a dream. Life has to continue after waking up from a dream. He went back to his wretched life as before. He still ate the scone and couldn't afford to add eggs. One day, he came in to buy a scone. The old man felt he was pitiful. So he gave him a money bag. Sang-Yu was so numb when he saw it. Wasn't this the money he secretly gave to the elderly man? Was this still a dream? I'm confident that after seeing this film, the great majority of people will think it is a little weird. However, we can think in a different way. Actually, Sang-Yu perished at the point where he wanted to commit suicide. What happened after that was all of his illusions, even dreams. It makes sense to explain in that way. By the way, anything that happens in a dream could be somehow reasonable.